Welcome to TecoGuide, the only app designed to help you navigate your college and career journey in the quickest and most affordable way. This podcast is brought to you by Equity, dedicated to opening doors to higher education and career opportunities for all.
What's up, everyone? It's Professor G, and today, again, I gotta give it up. Thank you very much, Rob. Tio Rob is here again to really bring us a whole lot of enlightenment and life inspiration. I even wore one of my favorite t-shirts here. It says, Ponte Las Pilas. Do you know what that means, Rob?
I would imagine it means living your best life or your best life.
It's a very common term in Mexican households.
Really?
And it's usually the women that'll tell, or someone will tell, the men or women will tell the children, Ponte las pilas, meaning, technically it means, put your batteries in. Like, wake the hell up, snap out of it, pay attention,
go to work.
Yeah, get it done, get shit done, so Ponte Las Pilas means trucha, wake up, something's going on, like, get up, you got to wake up, you got to pay attention, something good's coming, something bad's coming, so it doesn't matter, you got to wake up. So Ponte Las Pilas for this episode. Again, Perfect. Thank you very much, Tio Rob. Uncle Rob, for those of you who are new to meeting Rob here. He's a business and life coach, been around just decades giving great information out to companies, to people, and really bringing us out of our shell to overcome the many obstacles, both personal, education-wise, business-wise, finance-wise, life-wise. So again, Rob, thank you very much for joining us again. Thank you. So again, Rob, thank you very much for joining us, and let's jump right into this whole set of series that we have on life and on overcoming those obstacles. So Rob, take it away.
I appreciate that very much. I love doing this. The way that I got into this, I started off my career in 1973 in the
That was before I was born, Rob. I hope you know that.
Well, I was married at that time, okay? So this year we celebrate our 53rd wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
So,
Congratulations. 53 years. That's incredible because I hear that the divorce rate is easily 60%.
Right.
Easily.
Well, we got married in 72.
Higher.
1972. Wow. So, and here's the deal. I didn't know what I was going to do as a career. We got married. I wanted to start a career. I wanted to raise a family, all those things. So I got into the insurance business even before I graduated college. I just jumped right in, right? Mm-hmm. And I found myself in conversation with people that own businesses. That was the deal. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes they would listen to what I had to say and they wanted me to help them perform better in business. Well, that carried on, and I did that for a number of years. And then ultimately I got into the consulting business. I would advise businesses that had issues and problems and conflict and so forth, right? And I would help resolve those issues. And I had to learn a lot about life and a lot about communication and relationships and so forth.
And you learned a lot about the owners, right? And their companies and their purpose and their missions in life.
See, that's the point, really, honestly, Mauricio. So what would happen is businesses would fall apart in some manner, right? They were going well, and then they didn't go well. And so what would happen is I would come in, and I would be brought in to address one single issue. Maybe they owed the government a lot of money. Maybe they had...
Hey, I'm about to run out of money, Tio Rob. What can I do?
Exactly. Right? So as I began to solve the business side of these equations, I also had to solve the personal side of these equations. What's going on? Well, why is this? And in every single case, there was conflict in maybe the marriage. There was conflict in the relationships with their partners. There was conflict in it was all interpersonal relationship. One guy got a bruised ego.
So what you're saying is what the people are going through spills over to all of their companies that they've approached you with, right? So they didn't approach you with their personal problem. They approached you with, hey, I got a business problem that I need help. And you're through all the hundreds of people you've worked with, you've learned that it stems from the personal stuff.
Exactly.
And we gotta deal with that.
So the symptom, if you will, was a failing business. That was the symptom, or a lawsuit, or owing money, or whatever. That's the symptom. But if you're going to cure the problem, you have to cure the underlying problem as well. So I began to get involved in that. And that gave me that's why I became a life coach, because I wanted to help these people understand what they themselves were doing, what barriers in their personal and interpersonal relationships they were having that was causing them to behave in a manner that they didn't intend to.
That's interesting. Okay, so now I'm getting a real good history lesson here. Is you first started off as a business coach, kind of as part of your business, and you start helping all these people, and you're starting to put two and two together and realize, oh my God, it stems into life. So that's where that life coaching comes in.
Bingo. And it could be health.
Yeah.
I mean, there was all kinds of, maybe these people had cancer, maybe they suffered from a disease, maybe somebody in their family had sick, whatever the thing might be. There are issues in your life that can have a dramatic influence on the outcome of the life that you're living. Okay? So in my own life, I began to realize this in my own life. Like, if I didn't get my shit together, I was going to have issues in my marriage. I was going to have issues in raising my kids. I was going to have issues in my community, and so forth and so on. And along the way, I was eating like crazy. So I got to be over 300 pounds.
Ooh. Because you're not 300 pounds. I can look at you now.
I lost 100.
You're pretty darn healthy.
So I had to change everything about myself, because I was realizing in myself what was the problems with that my clients were having. So
because you had similar problems. I mean, everyone has problems. Let's just be real.
Yeah,
exactly. Everyone has trauma. Everyone has problems. Everyone has to live this thing we call life, right? And we're here to help you kind of figure out how to live the best part of this thing called life, right? By overcoming these problems. So you've overcome yourself quite a bit of problems.
You name it. I mean, gambling, drinking, drugs, eating, just whatever it might be.
Medicating, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Not good. So I developed a skill set as I began to say, well, wait a second, man, Rob, why don't you help yourself first? Why don't you get your own shit together first? So I began to dig into it, totally dig into it. And I spent, the last, let's say 10, 20, 15 years of my life, not actively involved as a business or life coach to others, but working on my own life, learning how to live a healthy lifestyle, learning how to have effective interpersonal relations wherever I went, okay? And as I began to take those lessons, and I went to 2 years worth of classes to educate me in a lot of these things. Plus I spent 15 years learning all about how to live a healthy lifestyle, became a certified trainer.
Yourself, right? Because you were eating wrong. You probably weren't working out or doing anything.
So, I mean, I learned how to bake. Okay. I bake whole grain, sourdough products of all kinds. That's the foundation of my diet. I'm a Mediterranean diet guy, fruits, vegetables, whole grains.
But you weren't that when you were younger, you weren't that.
Not at all. Miles away from it. Okay. I mean, completely different. On one of these days, I'll show you a picture of what I looked like at 300 pounds and just going through.
You're not just going to show me, you're going to show everyone, because we're going to put it up.
So the bottom line is, so that's how I got my education to give people sound advice. I was my own guinea pig. And now I've already resolved issues at well over 200 companies. Okay. Wow. They were facing bankruptcy. The owners were facing bankruptcy. They were going through divorce. They didn't talk to their
taxes.
kids.
They owe money to the government. They owe money here. Yeah, because most businesses, from my understanding, like 90% of businesses that start will fail, like within the first 5 years or some crazy.
Well, here's how it works.
Like that.
Very specifically, 80% of businesses will be out of business by 5 years. And those that survive 5 years, 80% will fail again during that next 5-year period. So if you can make it 10 years, you're going to be good. And so the bottom line is you've got to understand what reality is in your life. You have to address it and embrace it and say, oh my God, that's what I'm doing badly. That's what's holding me back. So it's that self-admission, self-awareness that's critical. Then you have to understand that's whether it's your health, that's whether it's your relationships. The key that I really want to share with people that listen to these broadcasts or these podcasts, if you get yourself a solid foundation for your own life, you don't take things personally, okay? You don't make assumptions. You make sure that your own element of your life is really working for you. Now, you can take the time that you need to do introspective, and you can figure out, who am I? What do I want? And what is my purpose? Once you get your arms around those three things and you build your life on that foundation, everything else in your life will go well for you. Now, I'm not suggesting that things won't turn bad. Of course they will. I've had friends die, overdosing, divorce, you name it. But it's how we as individual humans react to those issues.
To continue to live your best life, right? Whatever your life throws at you, disease.
You got to put it in perspective.
Yes, absolutely. So your definition. So let me give me the one sentence definition of your best life per Tio Rob.
Yeah, sure. That means relationships. That means the choices that you make with the time that you have, okay? It means how you understand, perceive, and react to life happening around you. Okay? You get your arms around those things, and now you're going to be a student of your own life for the rest of your life. I guarantee you that every single day in my life, and I'm 73 years old now, every day of my life, I learned another aspect of my life that helps me live a better life.
Wow. So I'm hearing a lot of things here, Rob, because, I've been a college counselor for 25 years. And, before that, I was kind of like, I wasn't a counselor, but I was a janitor, but I was also, the middle child. So I kind of had to do the counseling amongst my brothers and sisters, where I totally failed. But I think I'm a much better college counselor than I was to my brothers and sisters. And I think, I heard a few things that you said, that really resonated. The one thing was I had to learn who I was.
Exactly.
Like literally do a self-reflection. Who am I? What am I?
Yep.
Right.
What do you want?
What do I want? Why am I here? What is this? Right. Everything. I had a list of so many bad things that were happening in my life. Right. Just a list of 100. And they were just more and more, right, as a young man, just trying to overcome obstacles one at a time. But that list was getting longer because I didn't really see myself as a person that could cause the change.
Well, and you know something, Professor? The root of all of those issues, right? The root of all of those issues can be tied back to like maybe 2 or 3 things. One, something's gonna happen to you, and you're gonna take it personally, right? Some guy's gonna flip you off in the car. Somebody's gonna cheat you. Somebody's gonna do something to you that they're gonna influence you in a negative way, and so you're gonna react to that bad thing that's happening to you from somebody else.
So I would react negatively. I would react violently. Bingo. I would react negatively. I would react with anger. Right. And that's how I grew up, and to me, that was normal.
We guess what? I did too. Okay. different version. Okay. Different set of circumstances, different neighborhood, different people, different color of people in my neighborhood. But it was the same behaviors.
Shit. It's the same type behaviors, right? Wow.
Exactly. So the first thing you have to do is you have to understand, you know what? Time and choices. We all are given the same amount of time, period. I don't care what happens. You got 18 awake hours in the day, 19, 17, that's now I'm awake. What am I going to do? Now, what choices am I going to make all during the day? What choices am I going to make about what goes in there? What am I putting in? How am I eating, drinking, drugs, whatever? What choices are coming out of my mouth? What am I putting into my brain? What am I putting into my files in my head? Okay. So all these things are perspective and the word paradigm. And the paradigm is an overall view of it's your interpretation of what you're seeing. That's your paradigm. Okay.
My perspective.
Great word.
Right. My
your perspective. I'm seeing something. I'm looking outside, I'm looking around, and I'm going to react to what I'm seeing. That's my paradigm. Could be right, could be wrong, but it's your paradigm. Okay? Mm-hmm. So among the tools that you've got to use is you got to prepare yourself to say, okay, look, I'm going to embrace my own personal foundation to say, look, I'm always going to be impeccable with my word. What comes out of my mouth is going to be the truth.
Honest, no bullshit. I'm going to be honest. I can joke around, but I let people know I'm joking. Yeah, but the reality is, I'm not gonna purposely lie to people. I'm not going to purposely, because when you're lying, people. Right? I
don't want to con anybody.
Yeah. Yes, I don't want to con anyone. I want to be impeccable with my word. Yeah,
I'm not going to lie to. I'm not going to lie to myself, and I'm not going to lie to others. Okay. Mm-hmm. Number two, I'm not going to take things personally. You know what? Somebody that I wanted to do business with or have a relationship with, whatever, they're having a bad day. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's some shit that happened to them that morning and they don't like it and they're going to take it out on anybody that they run into during the day, whether they're in their car, whether it's at work, whether it doesn't matter. They're having a bad day. Sometimes your kids are having a bad day.
Shit, I had a bad week. This week was not that good.
Well, and so you wonder.
But you're right. I can choose to take it out on my kids. I can choose to take it out on my significant other, right? And often we do, because we don't, that paradigm is so interwoven that we attack those people close to us when shit hits the fan.
It overflows. Your emotions, your anger, your reaction to things. I don't care who it is, man. I'm going to kick the dog. I'm not happy. So not taking things personally, not making any assumptions.
That's hard. That's hard, Rob. Come on, dude. But this is why you got to live your best life, right? We didn't say this was easy. This is going to be the hardest thing you do in your life is living your best life.
See, that's the whole point. But once you speak it, once you know it, okay, this is harder than learning a second language.
Absolutely.
It's harder than learning how to do well in an athletic endeavor. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. But once you've got it, it's there and you'll never let go of it.
Mm-hmm. So understanding your paradigm, right? Back to your paradigm, which I'm thinking, paradigm, that wasn't really something I understood, but I do understand computers. So if I'm a computer, I've been programmed, right? When I was born in the Salinas Valley, I've been programmed to behave a certain way, to act a certain way, to react a certain way to my problems based on where I was born, the people who raised me, the environment that I was in, right? Same with you, right? Your environment, your family, your schooling, whatever, programmed you for the first 20 years of your life, 30 years of your life, right? And then you try to live the rest of your life realizing you've been programmed wrong.
and the word that I like, program. Exactly. So the word is domestication. Domestication.
Got it.
And there's 3 periods in your life that have the greatest influence on your domestication. The first 7 years, man, you're going to experience and learn a lot about life. Those first 7 years, you're going to see the neighborhood you grew up in. You're going to see the kids and the way they act. You're going to see the mom and dad. You're going to see schools, the neighborhood, school, you name it. Those first 7 years are going to give you all kinds of growing up experiences. The next 7 years, you're going into adolescence. You're learning who you are as a young adult. What is it like to be an adult, and your view and your attitude and your awareness is going to change. Mm-hmm. It's going to be added to. It's going to combine itself with the first 7 years of domestication and help you figure it out in the second year of domestication. Mm-hmm. Then the third of this thing is your age of, say, 14 to 21. I'm going through high school. I'm going to figure out a career. I'm going to maybe have a relationship. I may get married. So you're learning about love and sex and education and career and,
the employment workforce, right? Just, yeah.
Money. How do I get money? I mean, maybe you're in a habit of getting money by stealing.
Hey, no, let's be real. Hey, I used to jack people, dude. Come on.
Stealing, drugs, whatever. I got to hustle, man. I need $200 today. Well, how am I going to get my $200 today? I know how I'm going to do it. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm going to take it from somebody. Yep.
Exactly. Now, so in my life, what I've realized way, way late in life, okay? I had a father, and let's just say that he was not at all what you want in the way of a father on many, many, many levels. He was like a Donald Trump in his own way. He was very narcissistic. He was opinionated, blah, blah, blah. And I resented it. My sisters resented it. We were so glad to get him out of our life, blah, blah. Then I realized in time, well, wait a minute now. I'm just holding him accountable for all this bullshit.
You mean you're holding him accountable for the
way he treated us? Right. How he treated us. Why was he living his life this way? So finally I just said, well, wait a minute now. What assumptions am I making about him and his life? Then I realized, well, he was in World War II. He was at Pearl Harbor when it got bombed. When he was 10 years old, his mom and dad, he came home from school and his car was packed up with all their worldly belongings. My grandfather lost his job at the Ford Motor Factory, and they were like the grapes of wrath type of thing. They were traveling around trying to find a way to survive.
Yeah, in poverty. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And they wound up picking blueberries in British Columbia, cutting trees in British Columbia, going down and joining the family that was there doing the same thing in Central California. Okay, so all of those things was his.
All of the trauma he lived, right, made him live his life the way he chose to live it.
Bingo.
With you as children, you and your brothers and sisters, etc. Wow.
Now, how many of us have parents that we wished treated us differently? Acted differently?
We had heavy alcoholism in my family. So dad was a hard worker, don't get me wrong, full respect and stuff, but he was drunk every day.
He was self-medicating.
He
was trying to overcome the experiences that he had in his life that he couldn't resolve in any other way other than to self-medicate.
Exactly.
My dad was the same way.
Yep.
Seeing guys get their heads blown off at Pearl Harbor was not a good thing. Okay. Yes. Exactly. And so all that built him up. So the point I want to make with all this conversation is this. You have to let go of all the things that happened to you. Let go of them so you can look at them. Let go of them so you can understand them. Let go of them so you can see what was going on with the other person. They're having why they are what they are. Look at your own way of being. Look at the choices that you make. Look at how you're going to react to bad shit happening to you. It happens to all of us. Okay? And so my life was one of self-medication. My choices were food, a little bit of drugs from time to time, things like this. And okay, so the reason I'm saying all this, laying the foundation, is what I would like to achieve in these podcasts is a step-by-step path to determining who you are, what you want, and what your purpose is. Now, once you know those things, you can align those three things against the choices that you make every day. If I get up in the morning and I take a run, or I take a hike, or I lift weights, or I do whatever. If I get back to the house and I decide on the food that I'm going to have for my first meal, because I know it's going to benefit my body. Okay? And I go and I have my homework done. I'm on my way to classes. I'm going to digest everything that they offer me in that class, whether it's something that I feel like I can use right now, or whether it's something I want to add to my inventory of stuff that I know.
That's amazing you bring that up, because I get so many students, right, first gen that go to college and they don't understand. They don't understand that this is a completely different place that's going to treat you completely different than what you're used to in school, right?
Exactly.
And a lot of them come in with this mentality that, and I used to have it too. Not gonna bullshit you. When I first started college, I had the same mentality: is this place isn't for me. That assumption, right? That assumption that this place isn't for me got me to almost drop out 7 or 8 times.
Exactly. So that's the purpose of these of this podcast, is to prepare the individual going down this path. I don't care whether they're 17 or whether they're 47. Okay. I didn't really get all my shit together till I was in my 60s. Really? Okay.
You were helping people get their shit together. You were helping others get their shit together.
But I wouldn't eat it myself. Okay. So literally,
don't we all do that, right? Don't we all do that? Yeah. I tell my students, get A's. I never got an A.
I got F to A's. If I was interested in the topic, I got an A.
Yeah.
No problem. Yeah. If there was something I didn't give a shit about, I got an F. Okay? And that's terrible. I would aspire to a D- so I can at least get course credit. Okay?
I often say nowadays, C's get degrees. So make sure you get at least a C.
Yeah. But see, so if you take these podcasts and you embrace or digest what I'm sharing with you, but based on what I've learned. Okay, I've learned these things through books. I've learned these things through personal experiences. I've validated them through one-on-one experiences with literally hundreds and hundreds of people. I validated these things with hundreds of businesses.
That's right.
Right? And when I go into a business, it's not just the owner that I'm visiting with and trying to straighten his shit out. It's all of his employees. I'll meet his director of personnel. I'll meet his production manager, whatever. And they'll vent. Now they got their problem. They're saying, "Oh, this guy, man, he's an asshole. Blah blah blah. He doesn't listen." And that permeates through the entire organization. People like
right because a company has like a personality. It kind of becomes
a culture.
A culture, right?
Exactly.
It has behaviors, and it's like if you zoom out and take a higher level look, you realize it's kind of like a person, right?
Exactly.
All these different areas can have dysfunction because of the behaviors of the people inside. And so back to setting that foundation, right? I think, whenever you talk to me, it's always like, hey, dude, it's one at a time.
Exactly. Right? No, that's it. It's like, what's that saying? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Okay. It's going to take you years. I live up in the forest. You've been up to my place. I live in a forest. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Amazing place. So like serenity.
Exactly. This is exactly.
You wake up and it's like peaceful.
I know. I keep looking outside because, God, man, the
like, what am I doing inside?
Trees. So you get up and you're prepared in life to say, what do I need to work on today? Okay. So in my life, it took me years and years to figure out how to overcome bad habits, how to replace bad choices with good choices. Okay. Now I'll share something with you. I'm having an ongoing relationship issue with my son. I love him to death. He's in his 40s. And he's kind of like where I was in my 50s. He's overweight. He's health issues, blah, blah, blah. But he's a lot better than I was at that point. But the point being, we had a conversation just the other day, and he says, look, Dad, you're making the assumption that people actually have these choices. No, we don't. I mean, we're just living our life. I said, you know what? I cannot disagree with you more. Every time I take a bite of food, every time I take a drink of water, every time I react to something or I want to embrace something, I have a choice.
Yeah.
Okay? I have a choice of what I'm going to put in my mouth, what I'm going to put in my head, what's going to come out of my mouth. Those are all choices. Now, if I build my choices on who I am and what I want and what my purpose is, I can select those choices and just go through the steps that I have to go through to replace the bad choices with good choices.
Right.
And that's it.
Right.
It's one thing at a time. Okay. So these podcasts are going to go into what are the best choices? I had a discussion with somebody last week on diet. Okay. Mm-hmm. I said, well, it's not that hard. The first thing you have to do is you have to decide what ingredients your body needs to thrive, to be really healthy.
I know that.
Okay. Then the second thing,
and trust me, you're telling a Mexican guy, a Chicano, food.
I get it.
Well, our morning starts with pan dulce, which is sugary sweetbread.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
And coffee. So
the first thing you do,
loaded with as much
sugar and cream.
So it's that mindset. You're absolutely right. It's from the moment you wake up.
Exactly.
You have to decide. You have control, right? No one else has control. You have control.
No one's putting the stuff in your mouth. You are.
What am I going to change today? So Rob, I hope you feel a little proud of me. What I decided to do, we've had conversations about nutrition and stuff, is once you learn that, the fuel you put into your mouth dictates how you feel.
Exactly.
All day and the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Right. So if you feel like shit, it's usually because you're eating like shit.
Bingo. And it's going to affect all kinds of things. So the first thing you have to do is you have to decide what ingredients your body needs. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the source of those ingredients. You want them to all be good choices, the health. So this is what I'm going to put into my body. The next thing you've got to watch out for is, how is that food prepared? How are those ingredients?
The next level, right?
Yeah.
First is let me cut out some
here's
shit.
My shopping list.
Yes. And then there's a deeper level. Okay, so if I'm starting off new to this, right?
Hmm?
Then you start off easy.
Yeah.
So don't try to hit a home run the first time. You're up to bat for the first time ever, right? It's
right.
Okay, what am I going to do first? So someone like me could potentially say, okay, I love coffee. And I used to load it up with a bunch of other shit. Well, that's not coffee. That's sugar. No. All the extra shit is sugar. Right? Exactly. So then I had to convince myself and say, okay, if I'm going to say I love coffee, I'm going to love coffee, right? Or
drink
if I
coffee.
think I need coffee, right? I drink coffee, which means black.
Right.
Straight
or milk.
Or milk, right? Something, right? But straight up, it doesn't need 15 pumps of this, 6 pumps of that, all this other stuff. So start with that, right? And slowly start cutting out the bullshit, right? Because now you're being more truthful with yourself, is I need to eat better. We all need to eat better. All of us. So why do you think the cancer rate is so high? Why do you think the diabetes rate is so high? Why do you think our kids in America are literally the fattest kids in the world?
Right. No. So the steps are this. What ingredients go through my mouth? How are those ingredients prepared? And then third, how do I make myself elect those healthy choices and not 15 pumps?
Yeah.
So there's 3 things. What's on your shopping list? How is it being prepared? And how am I going to eat this stuff and not that stuff?
Right. And that first choice, that first thing you fix is so hard.
None of it's easy.
It is the hardest. Why? Because remember, you've been programmed like a computer to enjoy that.
Sure.
Right.
The marketing of our food industry has done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, I'm going to sing you a tune from my childhood. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, the pops are sweeter and the taste is new. They're shot with sugar through and through. Kellogg sugar corn pops. Sugar pops are tops. Okay. Sugar.
But they threw the word corn in there.
Oh yeah.
So you think you're eating, healthy corn, when you're really just eating sugar. So really, it's that changing that one thing at a time.
Right.
Once you take control. So I had to take control of my coffee intake, right? I had to take control of okay, if I'm going to drink coffee, it's going to be just straight black from now on. I don't need all the extra pumps. It took me a year to get to that.
And there's reasons for that. So as we go through the paradigm, and I'm going to pull up the wheel of life here before we end the show.
Oh, sure.
When we go through and we look at a situation like health. Okay, health, great. Well, health is multidimensional. There's three main things with good health: diet, exercise, and rest. Those are the three things you got to master. Now, they're not easy. Food is not easy, okay? How to prepare it healthily is not easy. And how to make the choices to ingest that is not easy. How do you get those new habits? Well, the same thing is true in other aspects of your life. Relations, finance, your career. Let's pull that up. There you go. Okay.
So what is this, Rob? Tell us.
Yeah, this is what we call the wheel of life. Imagine, if you will, take, for example, business career at the top there, right?
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, right, how would you rate your feelings, your success? How would you evaluate what you're doing? Maybe it's a 6. On finances, how satisfied are you with your financial life? Maybe that's a 4. On health, maybe, you're smoking, you're drinking.
I gotta stop smoking.
Not a good one.
Stop drinking. I gotta start working out. Yeah. I gotta start jogging, so that's down here.
Right.
And all that,
so you make your way through all these things: family and friends, your relationships with them, your romance, your love life.
I'm trying. I'm way up here, wife's down here.
Your personal growth and your fun and recreation and your physical environment. So if you have all of these things at 10, what's the shape of your wheel going to look like? Smooth and round?
If all of them are 10, it's a wheel. You're flying down the freeway. You're flying down this freeway of life.
Exactly.
When they're all at 10.
So they're not all going to be a 10 when you start. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I've done is I have figured out on all 8 of these conditions, the experiences that humans go through. Mm-hmm. I've got ideas on what that should look like, the choices that you make, and how you can live your life to where those things are as close to a 10 as is possible. And it took me a long friggin' time to get to that point. Okay, it didn't come overnight.
So if
I have figured it out.
So I'm looking at this, Rob, as okay, I'm a low rider. That's what anyone asks me what's my favorite car or whatever, I do a 61 Impala, super sport, that kind of thing.
Convertible?
No, and I live in Sacramento. It's hot. It's hot. And I've had a convertible before. It's very limiting when you live in really hot or wet places.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've had one. No thing. I had a 63 convertible super sport hardtop 10 years ago, etc. Very beautiful car, canary yellow paddle interior, just slammed on some 14-inch wire wheels. Anyways, the reason I'm bringing this up is I'm imagining the spoke wheel right here of a lowrider. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you bend your rims, right? So when you bend your rim, right? So if I have a bent rim, if I'm only on my physical environment, which is like my home, kind of like, my roof overhead is what I'm assuming here. If that's at 5, because I'm not happy there, right? Or say it's at 3 because I'm really not happy in my physical environment. And my business and career is probably going to be low as well, because if I'm not happy, home, I'm not happy business. Maybe my business is making a lot of money. Maybe it is, but it's still dysfunctional a little. That wheel is going to be like.
Exactly. I'm working with people right now. I'm working with somebody right now in their mid-50s. Their businesses are super successful.
Mm-hmm. So they're like around 10s in the business, okay?
Yeah, so the businesses are maybe 8. Finances are probably 8 as well, but their understanding of the finances is probably a 3. But nonetheless, their health is a 3 or a 4. Their family and friends is a 2. Their romance is maybe a 4. Their personal growth is a 1. Their fun and recreation is 1. Okay, and their physical environment is maybe 6. How do you think
that's a wobbly wheel. Yeah, that thing's going like this down the freeway. Even though there might be plenty of cash, even though the world sees you as a high functioning success story, your life is what I mean, going down the freeway of life just a little clunky.
Yeah, and I was brought into this. I was brought into this client because to help with all these things. But the problem is that this individual is not interested at all in anybody else's opinion or advice. Mm-hmm. So I can't do anything until they are, right?
And so that's where like the personal growth of the individual. So a strategy would be to help focus and improve the personal growth a little. Right.
Start with that. Yeah, that's a good place to start, because now we can open up the mind and their attitude and their paradigm to wanting this whole thing.
Interesting.
They have more interest in achieving a round wheel of life than they do any one single element. And that is a really good place to kind of end this first podcast on. When people are walking out of high school and into a career, whatever that might be, or they're 40 years old and they look at this thing and they think, shit, man, I need a lot of help. Okay, whatever it might be. You got to start with an awareness and a paradigm that says, choices I've been making have led me to the shape of my wheel. And I need help. I need a guide to help me make them all even and wonderful. I am not interested ever in my career anymore in working with somebody that just wants to accumulate more money and let the rest of this shit go. No.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me. That's not life. Okay? You can't have $100 million business and have a $10 relationship with your family and friends.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'm reflecting on this because now that I see a visual, and a lot of us are visual learners, like 90%, right? You know, take it in, you know, visually. You know, when I was a young man, I was focused on fun.
Yeah.
You know, so I was probably an 8. I was personal growth was low because I wasn't really interested in I'm just partying, having a good time.
Sure.
Romance. What I thought was true romance was not romance. It was just, you know,
sex.
Yeah, just sex. And that's not real romance. So I wasn't growing there at all. Family and friends, I was avoiding all of them because I was, you know, in college and I was trying to be this independent guy. But only this half of the circle, I would hit like 5 or 6s. Everything else over here was low.
Yeah. Like
a 1-2. And so my finances were always low. You know what I mean? Right. My health was always low. Business, even less, right? And so there were some really tough times in those years.
Oh, yeah.
And it was because my wheel was...
Yeah.
And now, you know, you don't have to... I don't know if you have to be at a 10. What if you're at like 6s all the way around?
It's a start. Then you can look at that thing and... Yes. Right. So that's the whole point. I mean, the thing that I want to really emphasize more than anything, and I'm thinking that the people that are watching this podcast might understand this, and that is this. Having a career or having business involvement that makes you money, a lot of money doesn't necessarily fill in any of these other categories, right? That's right. So if you want to say, look at, well, what makes the most money? Well, I should be a lawyer, or I should be a engineer, or I should be a software engineer, or whatever that might be. That's where I'm going to make a lot of money. Fantastic. Great. But that's not your goal. Okay. Your goal is to have a evenly divided and running wheel. And if being a software engineer is not what you're all about, maybe you should be a priest. Maybe you should be a musician. Maybe you should be
cosmetologist, an artist, a business person, something, right?
Just don't just
your
go
finances.
For the box.
Your finances will be up here, but everything else might not.
Have you ever seen a bumper sticker that said, "He who dies with the most toys wins"?
I haven't seen that bumper sticker, no.
Okay. Well, so I've seen it a lot in the Bay Area when I was a kid growing up. He who dies with the most toys wins, okay? Absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
Total bullshit, okay? He who dies with genuine happiness and satisfaction for what their time on this earth was achieving, that's winning. I don't care how much your bank account is. I don't care about that. It doesn't.
You can easily spot that at a funeral, right? Big bank accounts, small amounts of people, right?
Exactly.
the lowest bank accounts, the church and the overflow room is full.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with money, right?
Nope.
Money is part of the wheel, but one of 8 different things that can lead you to a better life. Now, Rob,
Absolutely.
you mentioned some agreements earlier. I want to emphasize that and give credit for that. It's the 4 agreements. So can you tell us a little bit more about that and who created it? And we will have an episode on that where we break down the 4 agreements very clearly for the audience. So go ahead, Rob.
Sure. So about 10 years ago, I was attending courses in life management and living my best life. I wanted to really understand these things so I could advise to others. And the first book that we studied was Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The 4 Agreements. He's my age, by the way, which is interesting. And he has a tremendous backstory. He was in Mexico. He was essentially clinically dead for some period of time. And the Toltec people came down to him and gave him some messages. I didn't know Toltec, okay? I knew Aztec, I knew Inca, but I didn't know Toltec. But they did. And so the 4 things, they said, you need to live your life with these 4 conditions every single moment of your life. You need to be impeccable with your word. Tell the truth, don't con people, let your word stand. Don't make assumptions, because you never know what, many of your assumptions are going to be wrong. Okay. Don't take things personally, because you're not as important as you think you are. Okay. And then finally, always do your best. And that, what is your best? What's the best I can do today with what I've got today? So that book is just an absolute great way of organizing your life. I've taken that book and I brought it into companies that were having drama issues. They were having, little conflicts here and there and so forth. And every Friday we'd get together for 4 weeks and we would discuss one of these 4 elements. We'd do it during the lunch hour. And the incidence of drama went from a lot to 98% of it went away. Because people, men and women that worked in this company, would look at each other, and now they're looking at each other with the 4 agreements in the back of their head versus you asshole. Fuck you. Okay. And it went away. And as a result, this company grew and grew rapidly. They had a good concept anyway. And the owner of the company embraced these things completely. And the owner of the company already was just a magnificent human being. I just love this person, still do. And so when he invited me in to come and talk to his people about these things, everything changed. I mean, he doubled the volume of his company, blah, blah, blah. So the point being, these life lessons, living your best life, is first of all about you embracing the things that are going to mean the most to you as life goes on. And you're going to carry these tools with you as an employee, as an employer, as a father, as a neighbor, as a husband or a wife, you name it. If you carry all these tools with you through all those ingredients, now you can walk through a neighborhood that you used to be afraid to walk through.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, when I was a kid,
because you're not making assumptions.
No, when I was a kid, I was a teenager in the 60s, I worked in San Francisco, and then I spent a lot of time in the Haight-Ashbury and the Fillmore district and so forth. Friends of mine that lived in the Fillmore. And I mean, we heard gunshots, a lot, most nights and things like that. And I was always afraid, like, oh shit, I drove a motorcycle at the time. Well, I go back and I'm in these situations now. I'm in neighborhoods that you might think, yeah, what are you doing in this neighborhood, man? I don't care. Okay. I don't care, because I'm going to walk through that neighborhood with a positive energy and a love in my life and an acceptance and an understanding that these people are going through something too. Okay. I did. And they are too. And as a result of that, when I am with a group of people, I always get positive energy. I find a way to connect with their best selves in there. They may be pissed off. They may be bad in a lot of other areas, but I'm able to connect with that heart, that soul that they've got, that they really would like. To me, every single human being wants to be their best. Mm-hmm. But they have all kinds of barricades, blocks, and things that don't let them do that. So I would like to help people get through that and replace that type of energy, that anger, those experiences, and connect them with the rest of the world. The things that are so beautiful. Animals, plants, seasons, man. I'm having time of my life understanding and enjoying planet Earth and what it's got in it, and people, and all the different kinds of people. I love people. I really do.
And this is, I want to remind the audience that this is things that are going to take time, right? And you're going to be surrounded by people who do not understand the 4 agreements.
And they don't want you. They don't want you to either.
They don't. They don't.
No,
because then it stops bothering you when they do something that's out of your control, right? So it reminds us that we're only in control of how we think and how we respond. You're only in control of that in this whole world, right? You're not in control of others. You're not in control of others' behaviors.
My dad was so bitter, okay, that when I got into the insurance industry, hey, Dad, I'm licensed to, I had that choice. I went through that, and I said, no, not for me. It's crazy. Anybody could do that. You're wasting your time.
Kind of like a knock on your goal, a knock on what you want to do, something you want him to be proud of, and it's like you're not proud.
What he's doing is instead he's saying, look, I wish I could do what you did, but I can't. So I'm not going to have you, my son, succeed at these things where I can't. So you shouldn't even be doing that.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Yeah. Okay. No, I don't. That doesn't.
And
mean
we get that. But that's just one instance of thousands.
Oh yeah.
Where it occurred, right? Exactly. So very similar to my life, very similar to our listeners' lives. Is you're around a lot of people that have been programmed by their environments.
Yeah, and they're defending it.
Families, and they're defending it like crazy. And so if we learn about the 4 agreements, right? If we learn about what Don Miguel Ruiz wrote about, right? The impeccable word, that takes a lot of practice. I had to consciously. I want to say something. Don't say anything. You know what I mean? I'm like talking to myself, saying, bite your tongue, don't say shit. You know what I mean? And if it's not true, you definitely don't say it. You just keep it, and what goes on in here might be totally different. Like, I want to beat the shit out of this person, right? It's going on in here. But what's going to come out here is I have to, do not make assumptions, right?
When I lost my weight, okay, when I went from 300 to 175, so many people that loved it. They were so encouraging and so forth that others said, fuck you, man. It doesn't work for me. I can't do that. Or, because everything has to change at that point, right? I go to someone's house and I don't eat the same stuff anymore. And I don't drink the same stuff anymore. And I don't make these same choices anymore. And now they resent it because they think Robbie thinks he's better than we are. No.
Oh.
Or how about my relationship with my dear wife? Man, we've been together as a couple since 1968 in high school. We were juniors in high school. We got married 4 years later, okay?
Wow.
That poor lady, I mean,
you put her through some shit, sounds like.
and now I've got these things that I'm putting her through another round of shit when I'm sharing with her what I've learned to make myself better.
Yes.
If you tell me one more time I'm taking it personally, I'm going to knock you out. Okay. Let's back off on that one a little bit. So you're going to get resistance in all quarters.
Everywhere. Because you're changing you. When you start changing you for the better,
some people are going to be jealous.
Resist. My parents were resisting my change. My brothers and sisters definitely resisted my change. Even my own kids. Like when I start changing, they're young and they're like, wait, Dad, what do you mean you don't eat that anymore? Whoa. Even yesterday, I'll be honest with you, they're all like, let's go to In-N-Out, go ahead, great. Okay, let's go to In-N-Out. I chose not to eat.
Yeah.
they were tripping.
Yeah.
They were. I can't tell you. I'm sitting there going like, okay, I'm not gonna eat. I don't feel like eating like this kind of food, right? And it wasn't I wasn't trying to be mean, but some people took offense to that.
Sure, of course.
Right?
See, the thing is this, Mauricio. People mistake pleasure from happiness. Pleasure can make you happy at the moment. Okay, that's great. This burger, oh God, this is going to be good. Blah 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 blah. Okay, but if you did that a lot, or if you didn't do it, and then it's going to take happiness and turn it into trouble and pain.
Yes.
Okay. Same with
my digestive system, right? The fat cells that I'm accumulating.
Yeah. So you got
right? my heart.
Smoking, alcohol.
We got high blood pressure in our family, heart attacks in our family. I'm like, I'm trying to squeeze out a little bit more life juice.
Yeah.
And for me to do that, I have to change some of my behaviors.
You've got to look at the things that are giving you pleasure and decide, is that pleasure going to lead me to damage, to unhappiness? Mm-hmm. Or is that pleasure going to lead me toward a better life and really solid happiness? Yeah. Nothing wrong with pleasure. But you have to understand the difference between healthy pleasure and pleasure that can potentially harm you and those that you love.
Right. So to end this, Rob,
these are all the
I know you're to end this for our first episode on this is, you're all about affirmations. So give us one tip that our audience can begin to use affirmations to cause change. Okay. So let's take the example you just used, In-N-Out Burger. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you know that your family and your friends and so forth they all want to go to In-N-Out Burger. It's going to make everybody happy, but you don't want to. And you don't want, so you have to phrase it like this. You say, I'm going to make choices that make me happy and healthy in my life. Mm-hmm. And I realize that some of the choices that are pleasurable are not healthy and happy. And I realize that it's going to have a negative impact on some of my relations if I decline that version of pleasure. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be compassionate, and I'm going to be wise, and I'm going to make my choices and make it so it's not putting pressure on everybody else. So you might just take that thing that you want changing, and you identify what it is you want changing, the consequences of not changing, and the benefits of changing. And embrace those that you care about and love, and understand that the experience is not going to be smooth. Mm-hmm. But if you give it some thought, you can make it smooth. Yeah. Instead of giving in to, which would have been the easy part, right? Yeah, just give me a double. Yeah. right. With, soda, add fries and ketchup to that, because the opposite is just give in. Well, yeah. Right. So you can't do that. That's the other thing you can't do. I mean, just replace a double with a shot of heroin. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's I mean, it may not be the same level of intrusion into your body, but it's just as important. I can tell you, I was a horrible type 2 diabetic. I had heart disease. I had high blood pressure. I had high cholesterol. And I was going to be gone. And you and I would not be having this conversation if I hadn't changed my life. I would have been gone by the time I was in my 60s. Yeah. Okay? From health. Now, I'm going to be 90 plus years old before I kick it up. It ain't going to happen. Let's try to push towards 100 there, Rob, okay? All right. But I'll be happy to make it. My goal right now is to make it to 2042. Okay. 2042. I'll be married 70 years at that point. Oh, wow. I'll be 92 years old, or 90 years old, I should say. And I can do that. I mean, and I don't want to do it. Yeah. Well, 2042, man. I'll be there. I know you will. You can be one of the guys that says something. No, I'll be there at party with you. But but we won't party like we would have done when we were 20. We're going to party a different way. No. Well, listen, I can tell you, I appreciate this so much. It every time we get together and we talk about these things, it helps me
in a way that I can't really even articulate. It helps me understand the reservoir of these thoughts and these ideas that I've accumulated, and how to organize them in a way that hopefully they'll be an inspiration to others to say, I want to know more about that. I want that. And every so episode, I appreciate this.
You're welcome. Every episode, I want to just capture that knowledge, right? Because you've been working on this kind of stuff for decades, which means that the wealth of knowledge that our young people and our older people too, but you know me, I'm all about, those college, get people through that education pipeline is they're going to need it, right? Because, the life journey is a difficult one. Let's make it a happy one.
Life is a whole lot more complicated and challenging than a course in any college.
That's right. That's right.
So I want you to be prepared so that life and the life that you're living is not a barrier to your success, but it's wings to your success. It helps you get there.
Yep.
And the earlier you understand that, and the earlier you embrace that, and the more you practice it, the better you get at it. Don't wait until you're in your 50s or 60s or 70s like I did to learn this shit. Okay? Start learning it now. It's awesome. Imagine how good you'll be 5 years from now when you get your master's.
That's right. Trust me, I'm in my late 40s now. If somehow I would have gotten some of this information sooner, I believe that I would have lived happier years, right? Yeah. And now I'm living a much happier life than I've ever had before, because I'm able to self-reflect. I'm able to control what comes out of my mouth and how I behave, and understand that, I'm not in control of somebody else's behavior. I'm only in control of my behavior, right? Exactly. And as I implement the use of the 4 agreements, and we're all learning. Again, you're not going to fix this tomorrow. You're not going to fix this ever. You're growing with this for the rest of your life, right? And as I implement those 4 agreements, things get better. Right. Yeah. But it's always reminding myself, right? Impeccable to the word. You got
So maybe every day, if you enter the day and you have 2 or 3 new choices that you've mastered, you've been able to make a choice in one area. Great. I'm going to live that. Now I'm going to keep my eyes open. I'm going to prepare myself and be ready for the second thing that I want to adopt, the new choices I'm going to make in this area. And that guide that we had up, that life guide, the life cycle, it is an agenda for you to understand and embrace and take it one level. And let's say the first thing you decide is a career, business. Okay, great. And right now you look at the thing and you give yourself a 3 or a 4. So why don't we say, okay, look, let's focus on going from a 4 to a 5. Now let's go to the next one. Let's focus on going from a 6 to a 7. Let's go to the next one. Let's go from a 2 to a 3. And because the more of these other things that you improve, right, the easier it's going to be. Overall, you're going to master the ability to make different choices and to recognize that, in fact, you can do these things. So you start with 1 and you move it up a little bit, and you go to the next one and you move it up a little bit, and you brace yourself for the feedback and the pushback and all the other conditions that are going to come to say, no, don't make that change. You can't do that. Bullshit. You can do that. Okay?
That's right.
I know you can do that. And the only reason I'm here talking about these things is because I've spent the last 50 plus years knowing and realizing what bad choices were and how to make good choices and the benefit of those good choices. That's why I'm here talking to you.
Well, Rob, thank you for the knowledge. Thank you for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, Tio Rob, business and life coach extraordinaire. We'll have many more episodes with Rob, for you. Those include getting your mindset right and how to do that. Talking about your education, your training, where can you, how do you frame what's next for you in terms of learning, right? Whether it's formal learning or informal learning, because we're learning all day, every day. And these will also include episodes on hustles, right? Like, what's your side hustle? You know, how do you generate a little more income? You know, we all got these side hustles, but how do we organize them? How do we keep them in our life to where they become part of the wheel and are contributing to other areas of our wheel? And, you know, one of my favorite that when we get to it in one of our episodes is, how do you fail forward, right? You know,
exactly.
Making those mistakes, right? They're not really, I don't even look at them as mistakes.
They're
anymore.
Lessons.
They're lessons. And and then your mind changes because you're not fearful. You're optimistic to learn from the failures, etc. So many, many, many more episodes to come with Tio Rob. Again, thank you, Rob, for the time. Much appreciated. And we'll catch you in the next episode.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me. And I hope that everybody that watches this has gained something from it. And I invite them to come along for the journey, and we'll take it one step at a time. In the future, the episodes will be shorter. They'll be focused on a given aspect of what we want to improve upon. And that could be any of those things that you saw up there. Any of the 8 things I'm prepared to share with what I've learned about how to get those other 8 things really happy for you. Finance, business, relationships, education, whatever. Okay?
We'll make sure we drop Rob's contact information, email into the description for any of you that wish to reach out to Rob and share
please.
Some of your thoughts or some of your ideas of an episode that you may want us to record. Please feel free to send him an email and let us know. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Thank you very much, Rob.
All right, go in peace, everybody. Huh?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning into TecoGuide, the app focused on bringing you tools and content to help you make better decisions about school, life, and career. We hope this episode has inspired you to pursue and excel in your own educational and career journey. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and share.